Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Just Jordan Things. How are we doing today? I apologize for last week's kind of confusion. I planned on doing it on a Wednesday, and then we got home at midnight the night before from my cousin's house, so I had to sleep in. But today we're back at it. We're here. How was your 4th of July? I hope you got to see your friends, your family, some fireworks. If you don't like any of those things, then I hope you had some great alone time. But let's dive in to what we're doing today. Today, if you can see it, we're going to write a letter to ourselves. This is the last page in the chapter that we were doing. So this is the self-love. Sorry, is that self-love? What are we going to next? Yes, so that was the last page in the self-love piece. Now we're going to go into common humanity. So today we're going to write ourselves a letter, and we're going to do the first page of common humanity. So what you're going to put in this letter is something that you can reflect back on in another month from now, 2 months from now, however much time you want, put that now. So put it within the next 6 months, but put it a long enough distance away that you can actually see whatever goal you're working towards, whatever progress you're working towards. That's what you want to put here. And you can use this as a way to exemplify the statement, my anxiety is lying to me. If you have anxiety, if you're struggling with that, this is a really great way to visualize what you're anxious about right now and how to reflect back on that and see how it didn't come to fruition. It wasn't true. Your anxiety was not being honest with you. And that is the breakaway part of starting to overcome your anxiety within your life and learn how to manage it better so that you don't feel consumed by it. So we're going to take some time. We're going to write our letters, and then we will regroup and come back and do page 1. So we also are going to reflect on what these chats in our morning have done for us, what we've learned, what our takeaways are, anything we're happy about, anything we don't like, anything that's memorable about all of the journaling prompts that we've done so far. Take some time, put that down on paper, and if you need more time, and I'm going to keep talking, feel free to pause, come back, anything you need. Hot coffee's hot. As you can see, I'm back with my rubber bands. I've got 6 weeks left of my, 6 months left of my Invisalign. And then I'm done, which is really cool. But they gave me stronger rubber bands. Not happy about that. Pretty annoyed. It's irritating. It hurts. It's frustrating. I can't wear nails with them because I can't put them on, even though I love wearing nails. So this is my current irritation and struggle. I've got to take them off, put them in every time I eat, every time I want to film a video, every time I want to, do anything where I can talk normally. But that's my gripe for the day. If anybody needs to vent about something, put your irritations in the chat. I'm here for it. I'm always here to listen. But something that I've tried to figure out how to translate over video is, how do I become a better listener to you? And for all of my friends, that's something I've heard time and time again from coworkers, from friends, from everywhere I go. They say, oh my gosh, you're such a good listener. I feel like I can tell you anything and not be judged. But it's harder to translate that to you over a screen where we're not, it's not private, one, and it's not, as equal as the way we're communicating. You have to type it out. I have to say it out. So if there's anything that you're wanting someone to hear, we're opening this up as a safe space, and we will discuss. And if you need to make more anonymous YouTube accounts for this, feel free to. But let's write our letters. I'm gonna write mine. What am I gonna put in mine? This week, this month, really, I always have that constant anxiety about and with money. And I'm a true believer that no matter how much money you make, you're gonna have that creeping anxiety in the back of your head unless you've healed your relationship with the financial aspect of living and life. Because I'm I'm doing okay. I'm doing good. If I measure, you know, where I'm at with the average population, it's good. It's great. I have a 401k that I contribute to. I have a Roth IRA. I have a health savings account, right? I have all of those things that are setting me up for success. I've been able to build a savings account on my own, right? That's something I've never had before in my entire life. But I'm still anxious when I see a certain number in my bank account. And that is something that is hard to overcome once you get to a certain place of making, X amount of money, and the lifestyle creep happens, right? So this happened when I was, making $35,000 a year, and happened when I was making $75,000 a year, and it's still happening now. I don't even know how much I'm making, but it's more than I've ever made in my entire life. I have multiple streams of income. I've set myself up for success. I'm doing all the things that I told my anxiety would help, and they're still not helping. Why is that? But that's something I'm going to be reflecting on right now and working towards. And it's something as a couple that we have to do together, because Grant also has that same anxiety, and we also have goals and dreams and things that we want that give us anxiety because of how much they cost. Even though if in 10 years and 20 years it happens, like, sure, is it more annoying if it doesn't happen sooner? But the fact that it's still going to happen eventually is a good enough thing. And it's hard to convince people with, what's that, the mother wound? That constant need for approval and validation and saying that you're on the right track, being the overachiever. It's hard for people that have that to overcome their anxieties of needing to be the best. It's not good enough just to be doing well. You have to continuously do more, do more, do more. And as soon as you've set your best, now you have to overcome your own best. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Gail. Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Betsy. I hope you are doing wonderful today. So continue writing your letters. If you have more things that you want to add, please do not skimp on this letter. You want to put as much of your current perspective of who you are right now into this letter, so that when you go back and read it, you can be transported back into the mindset you are today. You can look back at this and be like, wow, this is what was going on. That really helps with the getting over the hill of perspective and all the silly things that we worry about on a daily basis that we forget that we even worried about, right? So that will help with that. That leads me into a conversation about presence and being present in the current moment that we're in. So let me ask you this. How many things are you thinking about that are not happening right now? Whether it's planning for your day, things that you have to do, reminders, oh, I gotta go cash that check, I gotta call these people, I gotta go do this, oh, we need to go restock the fridge, I gotta go to the grocery store, oh, I gotta go run and do a little laundry. How many of those things, you can just tally them, right? How many of those are in the back of your mind just right now? First thing when you wake up, how many are there? And how many of those things take away from you being here in the now, in the present? It's something that a lot of people have a difficulty letting go. And that's one of the pieces why meditation why I find meditation really helpful, because it was training and flexing that muscle of doing, being here in the moment and learning how to relax myself for when I really needed it. So if your version is meditation, if your more version is prayer, I don't like to attribute prayer the same way as meditation, because you're still looking for things in the future. It's not a clear mind. You're still having a conversation. So the key about meditation is just you only exist right here in the moment that you're in. And that can do a lot for if you have panic attacks. Understanding how to get there when you're calm, when you're in a safe mental space, will help so much more when you need it in those high intensity feelings and emotions. And I think that's a lot of people miss that. It's you don't meditate on a daily basis because you need to meditate on a daily basis. You meditate on a daily basis so that when you need it, you've practiced it. You have it in your back pocket, right? That goes for anything that we practice for. We're not within the practice. It's still practice. It's not the live event. It's not the thing that's happening. You practice for the concert that you're going to, right? It's making sure you've got it down pat, so when it matters and it's important and you're in that live event, you're in that panic attack, you're in that stressful situation, you're in that whatever it is, you have that in your back pocket that you've practiced. So that's why I meditate regularly. And it does help. It's helped clear my mind and be more present in the now, because a lot of the times our panic attacks come from an overwhelming feeling of all the things that we have to do, all of the pressures that are being put on us, all of the outside forces now internalizing. That's not to say all panic attacks are like that. I've had all kinds of panic attacks. I'm sure everyone out here has had different versions of a panic attack, but that's personally what has helped me and what has been proven to help people. The next thing I want to share with you is this quote that I came across, and it's an analogy about how we view our progress and how we put so much weight on needing to see the end result or the proof in the pudding. And it's about a farmer, right? A farmer doesn't plant his seeds and then dig them up to see how far they've come every week or so, right? It takes time for them to grow. It takes time for them to sprout. The farmer trusts that when he puts the seed in the water and he's putting the care towards the seed, that eventually he will see the fruit of his hard work. That's the same as putting work towards our mental health, putting work towards whatever goal we have in the future. When the goal is achieved, right? When we have that fruit, we have to determine what that fruit looks like, one. But two, don't expect everything along the way to look like we have that fruit. It'll start to show signs, right, of the plant that we think we need. But the fruit at the end of the journey does not look like the seed that we're planting. And we're not, stop expecting it to look like that. Stop expecting to see the hardcore proof. You have to trust in the work that you're doing and trust in the growth process along the way. I think that analogy hit home with me a lot because I want to see results. I do something, I want to immediately see the result of what that did. But it takes practice, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes, energy to get to a place where you are finally enjoying the fruit of your labor. And sometimes it happens without expecting it. Once you let go of, you're more present in the process of growing whatever we're doing. we're deep in this analogy now. It allows you to get there sooner, right? It's that time perspective that we have. It lets you kind of achieve the pathway in a more smooth motion and enjoy the journey of growing versus just enjoying the fruits of the labor. All right, we are about halfway through. So let's go into day 8, common humanity. This was a section that really helped me kind of tap into I'm not alone. And I hope this resonates with you as well. Can you recommend a site, book to get started? Yes, I can, actually. Oh man, okay. Uno momento, por favor. Where are all my Brene Brown books? I have 100, so where are they? Okay. These 3 are really, let's see if they'll unblur. These are probably the 3 that I read on the start of my mental health healing journey and had the biggest impact. It could have been because I read them at the start, but I took something away from each of these that I still think about on a regular and continuous basis. Rising Strong, Brene Brown talks a lot about shame and researches shame in our society, how we look at shame, how it's used continuously amongst people, and how men and women are shamed differently and how we're allowed to, how it's just kind of looked down upon. So that's a really good one. This one, Practical Tools for Being Crazy Happy. This one talks a lot about, the author is autistic, and she goes into saying how it's looked down upon by society. When we have a disability, it's looked as, it's talked about as something that holds us back, something that sets us apart, something that makes it so we can't do as much. But she reframes that, and that kind of reframed it in the way that I look at it too, as no, it's not a disability. It is the way you are living, and sometimes it can translate into you can do something else better because of this one other thing that you have that's unique about you. So this is a really good one. If you're ADHD or autistic, this is a fantastic book to really reframe how you're seen in society, how if you've, been burnt out of every single job you've ever been to and can't figure out why you can't stay at a job for more than 2 years, can't figure out why any of your hobbies don't last more than, the initial period where they bring you happiness. This is a really good one. And then Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. A New Earth. This one is kind of woo-woo. It gets into some weird, a little too far, okay, for some people, but I really like the concepts they talk about our ego in this and how that translates into what it reflects to is the negatives in our life that we allow. So the main one is the pain body that I got the takeaway from in this, and how the pain body is an ego that continuously tells us to do the things that hurt us. The pain body wants to feel pain and validation, and it sometimes drives our actions to refuel that pain. It, attracts us to the people that will hurt us in our life because that's what's comfortable, that's what's normal. So it teaches you how to recognize and then go against that pain body so that you're no longer in that cycle of painful relationships and conversations and saying, the same things that attract the same people that hurt you time and time and time again. So those are the three books that I would recommend to everyone. They're great, fantastic. Let me know if you end up reading any of them because they changed my life. Now let's get into Common Humanity. Common humanity is the second core aspect of self-compassion. Common humanity means you're not alone in your experiences. Acknowledging a common or shared humanity is recognizing that suffering, pain, and imperfection are all part of the human condition. You may feel like you're the only one who makes mistakes, but this feeling of isolation prevents you from accepting imperfections. Once you begin to accept the inevitability of imperfection, that comes with being human, you will begin to realize that you deserve self-compassion. Take some time to think about what common humanity means to you. Reflect on what the inevitability of imperfection means and why it's important to be self-compassionate. You can also think about what it would mean to you knowing that somebody else was living through the same challenges and trials that you were living through. Sometimes this takes away the power of the challenge that we're working through, knowing that this is not a unique, isolated, it's only me, why me, this only happens to me kind of thing. It kind of takes that weight of the problem and recognizing this is something that everyone goes through. All people have their own types of challenges. We all face them differently. But there are things that are common across, the mental scope of challenges that don't get talked about enough. And that's part of the reason I'm putting this morning session together where we can all talk and, share our common humanity of the problems and issues that we're struggling with, dealing with, that we feel are so bad. It reflects badly on us that we're struggling with them, right? That's what it can feel like, but that's not the truth, because in reality, everyone is struggling with some sort of mental struggle. Some have more severe than others, but everyone has some sort of mental struggle that they deal with. And a lot of the times in society, we don't see it because it's all in your head. You can hide it very well. You can push it to the back. You can, mask in front of some people for an hour or two every time you see them. But I can guarantee you that every single person that you encounter has some sort of anxiety, depression, whatever it is that's going on in their lives. They would probably benefit from knowing that other people around them had it, but it's so taboo that we don't talk about it and we don't get to recognize that everyone's going through this struggle because we label it as bad or off the norm or not how you should function. But we can't get away from it. So with that, take some time to think about what the inevitability of perfection means for you. We'll talk about the human condition. We'll talk about just what it means to be imperfect and kind of some of the things that we value that are imperfect. I think that when struggling, we need to take a break, give yourself some grace. You give it to others, but not yourself. That, yes, Christine, that is so true. We often are harder on ourselves than we are with our friends. The advice that we give to our friends, we do not give to ourselves. So a really good thing you can try is when you're giving your advice, when you're in your own head, you're talking to yourself, shaming yourself, telling yourself I should have done this or I could have done this, right? Give that same advice to a friend. And sometimes, yes, it is good to recognize and realize when we've made a mistake. This isn't taking away from the mistake that we've made, but it is taking away the shaming of the mistake that we made. Did we not have the information we needed before going into this, making the mistake? Did we rush into something because we were trying to, what was our intention behind it? Did we learn new information after the fact that would have changed how we approached the situation? There's a lot of ways that we can, and I'm not justify and validate are the wrong thing, because taking accountability is still important. But to the level of which we harp on ourselves for things like, chores around the house. Oh, the dishes didn't get done. I'm a terrible XYZ, right? I'm not a good enough mother because I forgot to pack my kids' lunch, or um, I didn't realize that they didn't have clean clothes, right? Something. What are those things that we shame ourselves for? And how would you, if your friend was telling you that, how would you give them advice instead? Okay, the dishes didn't get done. Okay, but you had 3 soccer practices that you had to drop them off at, and made dinner at 7 p.m. at night before they had to go to bed so they could wake up and go to school the next day, right? You were prioritizing their sleep, their health, their food consumption over the dishes, and then you were exhausted. You didn't get to put any time into yourself. The clothes, the laundry didn't get done, right? So again, what else was going on? What else were you prioritizing that came higher on the docket of charts? And sometimes it's just sitting on the couch because you're so exhausted from doing everything else. Now, to fix it, right? If you're like, oh wow, I really needed to get the laundry done, but I was so tired I had to sit on the couch. What else do you need to reprioritize so that you have the energy levels, right? You need to come to truth with the amount of energy that you have available, and either outsource, right? Outsource your weaknesses, hire a nanny, hire a maid, hire someone to come in and help you get more energy back and reclaim that for yourself. Or are your kids old enough to help with any of those things? And a lot of the times is work draining you so much? Do we need to set better boundaries with work? There's always something we can look at and adjust and reprioritize. And we like to, pain body, we like to get in those moods where it is, woe is me. Oh, I'm so tired. This is, we want people to feel bad for us because sometimes that serves as a source of validation and can get that dopamine release that we're not getting in other avenues. We are almost at the end of our time together today, but I do want to leave you with this way I suggested one of my friends get over their fear of changing the job that they're in because it's not stable. Um, they are driving for Uber, which, if you know, it's a very like, if you get a job that day, you get a job. There's no consistency with income. And what they're looking for right now is they need that more stability. They need health insurance. They need all of those other things to be able to live in California because it's really expensive here. And not knowing what your next paycheck looks like, how much money you're going to make, or, you can't drive as much that week because you're tired, whatever it is. But they like the aspects of that job and are afraid to let go of them. They like the social aspect of it. So the amount of time they get to spend with people. They like the driving aspect. They like the physical activity. It's not just sitting at a desk, right? You're doing something. Although driving is just sitting in its own way. But they started to laterally move over into Rover. And if you're not familiar with Rover, it's dog watching, but it's the same inconsistency, 1099, no insurance benefits work. So my suggestion was make a chart, pros and cons, right, of the job that you currently have. On the pros side, you're going to put the social aspect, right, the physical activity aspect. On the cons side, you're going to put the physical wear and tear in your car, right? The lack of health insurance, the lack of consistency in pay. So what you want to do is, instead of looking at the pros and saying, oh, I have to keep this because this is what I want, you look at both and you say, what job can I find that has these pros but turns these cons into pros, right? Because it's out there. The job is out there. You just have to look hard enough. So that's a good starting place if you're struggling with a decision, if you're trying to come up with a if you're confronting a fear, if you're looking at something that you're like, oh, I got to change this, I don't know where to start. That's a good way to visualize it. Put it out on paper, write it out, get it out of your head onto something physical so that you don't have to do mental gymnastics to remember everything and get caught up in the overwhelming feeling of just remembering what you need to remember, what's on what side. It's down on paper. You can physically see it. You can come back to it, right? If it becomes overwhelming, put the paper away for 10 minutes. Come back to it with a fresh mind. But you don't have to worry about forgetting it because it's physically down on paper. So I will leave you with that today. Let me know if any of this advice has helped you, if you read any of those books or you do any of the advice that I give you. I